Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Thursday morning, October 5th. Big time changes coming to the eastern part of the nation. We've had some very warm conditions over the past few days throughout much of the eastern states. A much cooler air mass arrives this weekend. The strong cold front that will usher in the coldest air mass of the season so far into the eastern states. Looks like it'll cross the mid-Atlantic region, the northeastern U.S. during the day on Saturday. By the time we get to Saturday night and Sunday, temperatures will drop. The winds will pick up noticeably out of the northwest. And another interesting feature here, Tropical Storm Philippe right now is kind of spinning its wheels across the southwestern part of the Atlantic Ocean. It generally moves to the north over the next few days, reaches the down east part of Maine by the time we get to the middle part of the upcoming weekend. And then that low pressure area generally moves to the north and west and gets absorbed into this incoming strong upper level trough. That whole activity, that whole sequence will act to tighten up the pressure gradient field across the mid-Atlantic region, across the northeastern part of the nation come Saturday night and Sunday, leading to, again, quite strong northwest winds. So very interesting feature there. And I wanted to first show a quickly move through the surface forecast maps of the 0Z run of the GFS to kind of point out this particular interesting feature that Tropical Storm Philippe gets absorbed into the trough over southeastern Canada. And we'll also take a look at a tropical system that will slam into the southwestern part of Mexico and then move into the Gulf of Mexico and could help to set off the development of a tropical storm over the Gulf of Mexico later next week. So again, we'll quickly walk through the surface forecast maps right now at the beginning of this video discussion, and then later on we'll go through them much more slowly. But two areas to focus in on here, and it just shows up better if you go through the sequence of forecast maps here at a quick pace. Here is Tropical Storm Philippe. We'll see it move in this direction, head into the southeastern part of Maine. By the time we get to the middle of the upcoming weekend, then it kind of takes a turn in this direction right here and gets absorbed into the incoming strong upper level trough, and we'll see that overall pressure gradient field really tighten up as a result. Also, we'll take a look here in this part of the North America here with a tropical system headed into the southwestern part of Mexico. Then it moves over, crosses over, and it can very well set off the formation of a tropical system over the Gulf of Mexico. So again, let's kind of quickly walk through the maps here, and then later on in the discussion we'll go through them much more slowly here. First of all, let's focus in on Philippe. Right there, GFS kind of has a double barrel low pressure area associated with this tropical storm. This is now tomorrow afternoon. Meanwhile, colder air is charging to the south and east. Let's quickly move forward here. And here we go. Here it slams into eastern Maine, central Maine here. By the time we get to late Saturday night into Sunday morning, then it moves to the north and west. And the remnants of Tropical Storm Philippe gets absorbed into that incoming upper level trough. And as a result, look at all these black lines. These are lines of equal pressure, isobars. And the tighter they are, the stronger the winds. And this, again, with the influx of the tropical moisture into that cold air mass, into that cold upper level trough, will tighten up this overall pressure gradient field. And the northwest winds will intensify noticeably Saturday night and Sunday. Places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, Boston. It'll be cold enough for accumulating snow here in the southeastern part of Canada by the time we get to the second half of the upcoming weekend. Now let's focus in on another area. Here we are starting off in the middle of the day on Sunday, and here is that second area. Let's just kind of quickly walk through here. Tropical system moves into the southwestern part of Mexico. Right there you can see a strong system here. Whether it'll be tropical storm or hurricane status, not too clear quite yet, but nonetheless a strong tropical system by the middle part of next week. And watch what happens there. It tends to cross over Mexico right here by the time we get to the latter part of next week. This is about a week away from right now, and that certainly could result in some tropical activity right here over the Gulf of Mexico by the time we get to the latter part of next week. So kind of interesting unfolding weather pattern here with this tropical storm headed into the southeastern part of Canada and another tropical system crossing over Mexico from the Pacific Ocean side into the Gulf of Mexico side by the end of next week. Now let's get back to the zero-Z run of the GFS. This is the conventional version of the GFS, and all these maps, by the way, from tropicaltidbits.com, and later I will go more slowly through the surface forecast maps. But here we begin the day here on Thursday with strong high pressure ridging centered over the eastern part of Canada. We've had a spell of very warm weather, places like DC, Philadelphia, New York City over the last few days, well above normal temperatures, with this upper level ridge focused in on the northeastern part of the U.S., the southeastern part of Canada. And here is the big change, a strong upper level trough now diving into the northern plains, and that represents some big time changes coming in the eastern states. Let's move forward here, watch what happens. It dives to the south and east. Here we are by Friday evening, and a very impressive upper level low. And by the way, this is the reflection at 500 millibars of Tropical Storm Philippe. We go a little bit farther in time here now by Saturday. Strong upper level low, that incoming trough by the middle of the day on Saturday. Here is the reflection of 500 millibars of Philippe, and again, it tends to get absorbed and intensify, helps to intensify the overall upper level trough here by the time we get to Sunday morning. Look at that feature. Again, some of that tropical moisture gets absorbed into this incoming upper level trough. That'll in turn tighten the pressure gradient field. The northwest winds will intensify noticeably Saturday night and Sunday throughout the mid-Atlantic region, the northeast U.S., and a lot of cold air will be charging across the Great Lakes. Sunday promises to be the coldest day of the fall season so far in that I-95 corridor throughout the mid-Atlantic region, throughout the northeastern states, and there will be a strong northwest wind to make it feel even colder than the actual air temperature. Now, just go forward through next week and notice the rotation around. Once this strong upper level trough moves into the southeastern part of Canada, it intensifies, helped along by that influx of tropical moisture from Philippe, and it just kind of sits and spins here, not only through much of next week, leading to cooler than normal conditions in the mid-Atlantic, in the northeast for much of next week, but really well into the month of October now, we will have a trough situated near the in the eastern part of the nation. So it very well could turn out to be a cooler than normal month of October, despite the very warm start to the month this particular week. Here we are at the end of next week, remnants of that initial upper level trough, but right on its heels, another impressive upper level trough. And again, that moves right into the eastern states, and here we are now all the way into the middle part of October, and kind of a similar pattern to later this weekend with strong upper level trough situated over the northeastern states, and again, likely leading to multiple cold air outbreaks into the eastern states. At the same time, strong upper level ridge will pop up frequently in the interior western U.S., leading to above normal temperatures in that part of the country. Well, let's walk through the 850 millibar temperature anomalies and see how all this pattern at the 500 millibar level affects temperatures. Here we are beginning the day. Again, that strong upper level ridge centered right now over southeastern Canada. A lot of above normal temperatures in that part of Canada and the northeastern part of the U.S. So we can look upstream to the north and west. Here is that cold air mass charging to the south and east. By the time we get to the middle of tomorrow, Friday, it's the core of that coldest air mass centered over the northern plains continues to dive to the south and east. By Saturday morning, that strong surface cold front headed towards the eastern seaboard, and here comes that colder than normal air mass charging to the south and east. Much cooler air moving in during the day on Saturday, but especially noticeable on Saturday night and Sunday. Again, Sunday, the coldest day of the season so far in the Mid-Atlantic, in the Northeast U.S. Here we go. Full force of that colder air mass will be felt by the time we get to Sunday morning. And again, remember, northwest winds will be quite impactful, bringing wind chills to the Mid-Atlantic region, to the northeastern part of the nation. And once we get into this colder pattern here, it'll stick around. We saw that upper level low kind of spinning around for several days next week, and then just reinforced by another upper level low into the eastern states. Here we are now in the middle part of next week, still colder than normal from the Great Lakes to the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor. And it does attempt to warm up, but that'll only be a brief warm-up here. We get to the end of next week into the middle part of October, and more colder than normal air spreads out across the eastern states. This is all the way now into the middle part of October. And again, with that upper level ridge frequently popping up over the interior west, that is where warmer than normal conditions will exist by the time we get to the middle part of October. Well, let's wrap up by now slowly walking through the surface forecast maps. And again, we start off with a little bit of a low pressure area. This is Tropical Storm Philippe. By the way, last reported observation had maximum sustained winds of 40 miles per hour from Tropical Storm Philippe. Unlikely to reach hurricane status, but it'll move in a general fashion in this direction up to the north. And here comes that charging to the south and east, the cold air mass, and there'll be a strong surface cold front here by the time we get to Friday, right here. And here comes Philippe up to the north and west as a tropical storm. Here we go. There will be some showers in the Mid-Atlantic region ahead of and along that frontal system that crosses over the region during the day on Saturday. Doesn't look like a heavy rain event. Not an all-day type of rain for Saturday by any means. There can be some embedded thunderstorms. Philippe here by the time we get to early Saturday, well off the Carolina coastline, heading to the north. And we talked about this blue dash line here, the 540 thickness line here. That represents the thickness of that layer between the surface and the middle part of the atmosphere, the 500 millibar layer. When you see 540, you're talking about pretty chilly air during the winter. This is often looked at for the delineation between rain and snow. So again, a chilly air mass, coldest air mass of the year so far, crossing the Great Lakes into the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast U.S. by the time we get to Sunday. Here we go by Saturday night. That tropical storm moves over, and maybe post-tropical at this particular time by the time it reaches Maine. Nonetheless, heavy rainfall for Maine, and that system gets absorbed and drawn to the west. Right here, a very, very strong surface low by the time we get to Sunday afternoon. 979 millibar low, and again, this is that incoming upper level trough that moves to southeastern Canada. At the same time, Tropical Storm Philippe moves up, gets pulled into that upper level trough, helping to intensify the whole system. And look at all these black lines here, a very tight pressure gradient field between this intensifying surface low and high pressure down to the south. And the result will be strong, noticeable, impactful northwest winds Saturday night and Sunday throughout the Mid-Atlantic region, throughout the northeastern states. That'll make it feel colder than the actual air temperature. By the way, places like Philadelphia on Sunday may be confined to the mid or upper 50s for afternoon highs, well below normal for this time of the year, and certainly well below what we've experienced in the Mid-Atlantic region during the past couple of days. This area blue, snow, accumulating snow, and several inches if possible right in this particular region during the upcoming weekend in the southeastern part of Canada. Now, let's move forward here. It stays cool into the early part of next week, and here we go with that tropical system headed towards the western coast of Mexico right there, and then it very well could cross over Mexico, end up helping to generate low pressure in the Gulf of Mexico by the end of next week. Now, we're more than a week away This is now the end of next week on Friday, October 13th, and we'll have to monitor that. At the same time, there'll be another cool shot coming into the middle part of the nation. Here is that tropical system potentially all the way into Florida, peninsula region, by next week, and this is now the middle of October, October 14th we're talking about. So again, if this actually takes place, it will represent a Pacific tropical system that crosses Mexico, moves into the Gulf of Mexico, and ends up raining on Florida by the middle part of the month, and that moisture may then ride up into the mid-Atlantic and northeast U.S. as an influx of another cool air mass rolls across the Great Lakes into the eastern states. So kind of a very interesting weather pattern setting up here for the next several days. First of all, Tropical Storm Philippe will get absorbed into an incoming upper-level trough that sets off a pattern change for much of the eastern states, with a much cooler pattern setting up. That coldest air mass of the season so far arrives this weekend for the mid-Atlantic northeast U.S. Meanwhile, later next week, middle and latter part of next week, a tropical system affects the western part of Mexico, crosses over Mexico, heads into the Gulf of Mexico. We'll have to keep our eyes on that. It could ultimately have an impact with rainfall not only over the southeastern states, but ultimately perhaps all the way up into the mid-Atlantic and northeastern part of the nation later on this month. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.